Have you ever stopped to think about what's actually holding up our world? I mean, the stuff that's literally buried deep beneath our feet, locked away in mountains. It's the foundation for, well, everything. Our homes, our phones, you name it.
Yeah, just think about it for a sec. What connects a massive skyscraper to the smartphone right in your hand? Or even the pipes bringing water to your tap? What's the one fundamental thing they all share? Well, the answer is minerals. It all starts right here with this raw, earthy stuff, this iron ore. And then, through some pretty incredible industrial magic, we turn that into the essential things we use every single day, like these shiny copper pipes. Okay, so if we're going to get to the heart of India's wealth, we have to start with the basics, right? What exactly are these minerals? These building blocks of a whole nation. So in simple terms, a mineral is just a natural substance, right? It's got its own unique chemical fingerprint, its own physical properties. I like to think of it as Earth's own little recipe book for making all the solid stuff on our planet. And you can basically sort them into three big categories. You've got your metallic minerals, that's your iron, copper, gold. Then there are the non-metallic ones, super important for things like cement and electronics. And of course, the energy minerals, coal, petroleum, the stuff that powers our world. And yeah, we're going to touch on all three. But here's where it gets really interesting. This treasure, it isn't just scattered around randomly. Nope. The story of where you find India's minerals is all tied up in its ancient geography. See, most of India's mineral wealth is packed into one specific area, the ancient hard rocks of the Peninsular Plateau. It's like this giant geological treasure chest that's been sitting there for billions of years. That's where the good stuff is. And check this out. This quote really paints a picture. It says if you draw a line on a map from Mangaluru all the way up to Kanpur, pretty much all the major mineral resources are found to the east of that line. I mean, talk about a concentrated stash. All right, so let's zoom in on the two big ones, the minerals that really formed the industrial backbone of modern India, iron and coal. First up, iron ore. It's the key ingredient for steel, which is, the literal backbone of all heavy industry. And guess where you find it in India? Clustered in a few key belts, mostly in states like Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Karnataka. Sound familiar? Yep, it's right in that mineral heartland we were just talking about. But not all iron ore is the same. You've got magnetite, which is like the top shelf stuff, super high quality with up to 70% iron. But then there's hematite. It has a bit less iron, but it's the real workhorse of the industry, just because of the sheer amount that gets used. Of course, you can't turn iron into steel without incredible heat, and for a long, long time, that heat came from coal. Now, there are different grades, as you can see here. The simple rule is more carbon means better coal. So anthracite is the premium stuff, but bituminous is the one you see most often, especially for making steel. And just like iron, coal has its own special spot. Get this, over 97% of India's coal is found in just a few river valleys. The biggest of them all is the Damodar Valley, which is home to these legendary coal fields like Jharia and Raniganj. It's truly India's coal heartland. Okay, so that's the old-school industrial foundation, iron and coal. But what about the materials that power our world today? The 21st century. Let's dive into those. So take a look at this. This is bauxite. And yeah, it might not look like much, just a reddish rock, but this is where we get aluminum. That amazing lightweight, strong metal is why we can build airplanes and also why you have kitchen foil. It's a perfect example of turning a rock into a modern marvel. And when it comes to who's digging up all this bauxite in India, well, it's not even a competition. One state is the absolute king, Odisha. It produces the lion's share, by far. And that dominance doesn't just drive their economy, it basically makes Odisha the heart of the entire Indian aluminum industry. And then you've got copper. This was the first metal humans ever really used. And today, it's more important than ever. Think about it. It's in every single electronic gadget, every wire, every motor. And India, the big mining spots are places like the famous Khetri mines in Rajasthan and the Singhbhum district of Jharkhand. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the stuff that powers our cars and planes, petroleum. Now, the refineries are all over the place, but the crude oil itself, that comes from just a few key spots.
The main reserves are tucked away in sedimentary basins in Assam, that's India's oldest oil-producing state, plus Gujarat, and of course the famous offshore fields known as Mumbai High. So we've covered how minerals and fossil fuels built India's past and present. But what about the future? What comes next? Well, that brings us to India's next big energy revolution. This right here is a nuclear power plant, and the magic happening inside is called fission. All that means is they're splitting tiny atoms, like uranium, and that releases a huge amount of energy. All that energy just boils water, makes steam, the steam spins a turbine, and boom, you've got electricity, all without burning any fossil fuels. And this isn't some sci-fi concept. It's happening right now. India has a whole network of these nuclear plants up and running. They're dotted all over the country, from Tarapur in the west, that was the very first one, all the way down to Kudankulam in the south. And this really brings us to a huge crossroads, doesn't it? It's a massive challenge for India's energy future. On one side, you have the non-renewables, like coal and oil. They built the modern world, sure, but they're running out, and they're not great for the planet. On the other side, you have renewables, like solar and wind, clean, and they never run out. Figuring out how to manage that switch, that's probably the biggest challenge of our time. You know, one of the coolest renewable options, I think, is geothermal energy. The whole process is just so smart. You pump out water from deep underground, use the steam to make electricity, and then send the cooled water right back down. It's kind of like using the Earth itself as one giant clean battery. How cool is that?
So there you have it. We've gone from the raw iron ore that forged India's industries all the way to the atomic and geothermal power that could define its future. It's clear that these resources, this buried treasure, have always been at the heart of the nation's story. So the real question we're left with is, what's the next chapter going to look like?